All right, everyone, good morning. All right, so for today's agenda, we're going to have a warm-up, continue working on your warm-up. And your OneNote, once you're finished, we're going to go ahead and go to chapter 5, section 4, Alexander Empire. And to finish up, for the exit ticket, it's going to be on paper. You have it right here, post-assessment. All right, finish your warm-up, and go ahead and prepare to start with the lecture. Now, for your learning objectives, you will analyze and explain the world of Alexander the Great, right? Who conquered Persia, Egypt, and he extended his empire to the Indus River and Northwest India. All right. Also, you're gonna be able to locate Alexander's empire on the map and pinpoint locations of notable events that happened during his life. Is everybody pretty much done with the warm-up? Yes? Yes? All right. All right, so a little bit of background first. So the Peloponnesian War, as we discussed in previous lectures, left a weakened Greece. So Greece was weakened by the Peloponnesian War. And this caused a rapid decline in military power and economic power. And for that, the king, Philip II of Macedonia, saw this opportunity to conquer Greece. So Greece thought that Macedonia were uncivilized and were barbarics, if you remember that word. All right, so they actually looked down on Macedonia, and they decided to just ignore them because they didn't think Macedonia was going to invade Greece. Alright, so the questions to remember: who was Alexander the Great? Where was Macedonia located? And how big was Alexander the Great's empire? So I'm going to give you 1 minute to discuss with your partner about where actually is Macedonia located, all right? This is for you two guys to remember your geography. So let's give you 1 minute to discuss, and I'm gonna ask one group to answer this question, all right? So go ahead and discuss. America, you're gonna be with them. No, try to discuss with okay? So, Andrea, you're going to be with Austria. Just try to remember where Macedonia is located. A big hint, it's near Greece, alright? So, where exactly? Was one of your questions of your pre-assessment. All right. So Jose's group, can you please tell me where Macedonia was located? North of Greece? Yes. Thank you. All right. So Macedonia is located in the northern part of Greece. All right. Right below Kosovo and next to Albania. If you put it in near the Mediterranean Sea, and it's part of Europe. Alright, so the Kingdom of Macedonia was located just north of Greece, like I mentioned before, and it had rough terrain and cold climate. So once, like similar to Greece, it had mountains, it had alkalized soil, and the cold weather didn't permit animals or vegetation to grow. However, they had one advantage, and that was their king, the fearless king, all right? So Macedonian people lived in villages and not city-states. So like you remember previously in Greece, before there were city-states, there were actually small villages. So that's how Macedonians lived. And like I said, Greeks looked down on Macedonians and they thought they were uncivilized. Alright, so before we talk about Alexander, we need to talk about Philip, Alexander's father. Alright, so King Philip II was the one who came into throne on 359 BCE. You guys remember this was one of your pre-assessment questions. Who was the king who came into power on 359 BCE? That was Philip II. Alright, he was only 23 years old when he was proven to be a great general and a ruthless politician. He trained peasants to become a well-organized army. If you remember from last lecture about the phalanxes, these are the phalanxes. Remember the formation they had? Shield in one hand, spears in another, standing side by side, and putting the spears in front to attack. Alright? He also had fast-moving cavalry to crush his opponents and prepare to invade Greece. And he wasn't a brilliant tactician, so he had strategies on how to counter the most of the Greek army, because he studied them and made great strategies to be able to counter the powerful Greeks. Alright, I'm gonna move on. Now I need to just copy the most essential, alright? Alright, the conquest of Greece. So Demosthenes, an Athenian politician, trying to warn the Greeks of Philip II. So he trying to tell them that the boy who cried wolf, if we can put that example. So he tried to say that the Macedonians were actually strong people and they were prepared to invade. However, the Athenians did not believe Demosthenes because they thought, like I said, they thought they were uncivilized and he was just crazy. So in 338 BCE, Athens and Thebes joined forces with Philip II. Alright? So Greece was defeated at the Battle of Chaeronea, ending the Greece independence. So this was important. Greece lost their independence in the Battle of Chaeronea. In the Battle of Chaeronea. Right there, Greece was under complete control of Macedonia under Philip II. After that, Greece remained under control of different powers aside from theirs. So exterior powers were actually the ones that controlled Greece from Philip II onwards. right, so what made Alexander the Great great? Before we touch upon Alexander the Great, I want you to discuss with your group real quick. Why do you think Alexander the Great was considered great? So you have 1 minute. So why Alexander the Great was considered great? All right, Natalia. Go ahead. Please. Anyone has saying just go ahead. Yes, he was a conqueror. Good. He conquered around that. All right. So Philip II planned to invade Persia. However, he was killed by his former guardsmen, so he was betrayed. He planned to invade Persia to expand the empire. However, betrayal always happens. We've seen it in Rome, we've seen it in Greece, now here in Macedonia. So he was stabbed to death by his former guardsmen during his daughter's wedding in 336 BC. So that's when Philip's son, Alexander, immediately took control of Macedonia. That was Alexander. So he was considered great because of his accomplishments over the 13 years. So he conquered and did great stuff in just 13 years, in which some of the empires took hundreds of years. He did it in only 13 years. So Alexander was only 20 years old when he took power, and he was already a well-prepared leader because he was under the tutoring of Aristotle. If you remember Aristotle, he was a Greek philosopher, and in many cultures he was known as their first teacher. And he was inspired by Achilles in the Trojan War. If you remember Homer and the Iliad in the past lecture, so Alexander read those long epics, and he was inspired by the heroic figures that we see in those epics. So he started training at the age of 7, how to ride a horse, how to use weapons and command. Similar to the Greeks, to the Spartans. You remember the Spartans had their kings and soldiers train when they were in the age of 7. They drew into the war, and that's how they trained. So that's how Alexander trained. So it's parallel to the Spartans, to the Leonidas. So when the people of Thebes tried to rebel, he had the whole city destroyed, killing 6,000 of the Thebans and sending the survivors into slavery. So he was brutal. He was a brutal conqueror, and in order to have them under control, he would even burn out the whole cities. So with this and the terror of Thebes, the Greek city-state decided to no longer rebel and to stop the rebellion and surround him with fear. So here's another point of what made Alexander the Great great. So you remember the Persian Empire, how they attacked Sparta, how they attacked Athens and almost conquered Greece. So Alexander conquered Persia. So 40,000 Persians confronted Alexander's army at the Granicus River in Hellespont. Hellespont. So instead of waiting for the army of the Persians to arrive, Alexander decided to attack. So he ordered his troops to attack first. So the one who attacked first can be considered a winner. So that's what Alexander thought. So he ordered his army to attack, and they rapidly finished off the Persian Empire. So he smashed the Persian Empire. And even though the Persians have 40,000 men, the Macedonians were more trained than the Persians. You remember in the Battle of Thermopylae how the Spartans were more prepared than the Persians. So this happens again. Doesn't matter the size, it's more of how skilled your warriors are. So the Persian king Darius III was really alarmed with this victory, that he gathered 50,000 to 75,000 men to face Alexander near Issus. So Darius said, I need to stop Alexander's army. So he gathered almost 70,000 men to stop him. However, so Alexander, knowing that he was outnumbered, he broke through the weakest points of the arena portion. So he saw a huge army and said, okay, instead of going head on, I'm going to break through the weakest point. So in the weakest part of the army, Alexander decided to just go there and stop the weakest part of the army, and then from there move on to beat King Darius. So King Darius immediately felt the threat and decided to flee that battle. So he escaped. Alright, so with this, Darius knew that he didn't have any chance against Alexander, so he said, I'm going to give you half of my empire if you leave me alone. So that's what he wanted. He wanted to negotiate a peace settlement with half of his empire. However, Alexander knew that he had the power to conquer the whole empire, so he rejected the offer and went ahead and conquered the largest empire in the world at that time. So Egypt, who was part of the Persian territory, saw him as a hero and welcomed him as the hero who defeated the Persians and crowned him as a pharaoh. So Alexander was known as the pharaoh of Egypt. There he founded Alexandria, one of the first cities under his name, in the mouth of the Nile. You remember the Nile River? So that's where he decided to create Alexandria. He went and conquered all Mesopotamia at the Battle of Guadalmeda. And there the Persian army collapsed. Darius once again fled, so he needed to flee the second time because of the superior military tactics that Alexander had. So with this second defeat, the Persian Empire was no longer. The power of the empire, the mighty Persian Empire, fell under Alexander, giving him another reason to be known as the Great. So, Alexander the Humble, so was he humble? What do you guys think? Yes. He named 24 cities after himself called Alexandria. So he called 24 cities Alexandria. However, 70 cities have his name. So if you put it in simple, for example, it could be Alexandria, El Paso. So they had all Alexandria as a cover. So 70 cities had Alexandria or reference to this name in the. So they had 24 cities were called Alexandria, and they had 2 cities named after his horse. So he named 2 cities under his loyal companion in his honor. His horse was named Bucephalus, and the cities were Bucephala and Alexandria Bucephalus. Once again, Alexandria Bucephalus. So Alexandria once again was the name that he used the most. So he spread the Hellenistic culture. That was his culture. He established the world's largest library in Alexandria, Egypt. So that was the largest library in the ancient world. And he inspired great conquerors such as Mark Antony of Rome and Napoleon from France. In more recent era, Napoleon the Conqueror. You will see this in future lectures. And you also know about Mark Antony. All right? All right, so real quick, Alexander's legacy. In Babylon, Alexander became seriously ill and he died at the age of 32. He never came back to Macedonia, so he died in Babylon. All right? He died at the age of 32, so he was really young when he died. It was an illness. So real quick, there was a fun fact that some of the historians say that Alexander died because he fell in the bathroom. And it's true. Some of the historians say that he died because he fell and hit his head in the bathroom. However, a person that great cannot die like that, right? So they said that many of his followers and other peoples who were in Macedonia said that he died because he was ill. So that's something up to you to think and to investigate. So once he died, he never had a specific successor. So his generals fought against each other to see who would get his empire. Antigonus became the king of Macedonia and took control of the city-states. Ptolemy seized Egypt and took control as the title of Pharaoh and established a dynasty there. And he will later spawn Cleopatra, if you remember who Cleopatra is. And Seleucus, he took most of the empire and renamed it to the Seleucid Kingdom. So he changed the whole name. So Alexander had married a Persian woman and adopted a Persian race. And there the Greek settlers adopted their new ways, right? So Greece adopted new customs thanks to Alexander. However, his empire didn't last that long because it was split in numerous empires. It was similar to what happened to the Mongols. Once we go to the Mongols, we know what happened when Genghis Khan died. So reporting here, remember, he died at the age of 32. All right, so let's go to your OneNote. Yes. Oh no, I didn't miss it. Don't worry. Remember that it's in your OneNote, the PowerPoint in the content library, right? If you're missing notes, you can go back and copy from there. So let's go to your reading study guide. C5S4, Cyrus Empire. Alright, we're gonna start with Gabriel MacArthur. Who's gonna start please?
In 359 BC, Philip II became king of Macedonia, a kingdom located just to the north of Greece. He was a strong leader and trained his troops to be tough fighters. Philip prepared his army to invade Greece.
Thank you. Go ahead.
A leader in
Phoenix.
tried to warn the Greeks. He told them about Philip's plan, but they united too late to save themselves. The Macedonian won Greek independence was now.
Alright, next person.
Philip planned to invade Persia next. Never got a chance. He was killed. His son Alexander became king at age 20. He became known as Alexander.
Alright, how did Greek independence end? How did Greek independence end?
Oh, the Greek independence was because Macedonia won the battle that they had.
Okay, so Macedonia conquered Greece?
Conquered, yeah.
Okay, alright, so let's write that down. Macedonia conquered Greece, ending their independence.
Can you make it bigger so I can see it?
Okay. There you go.
And highlight it maybe,
Yes.
so it shows up.
There you go. Macedonia conquered Greece. Alright, next person to read.
Matilda was a ground general. Just like his father, he was prepared to carry out his father's dream of world conquest. In 334 BC, Alexander invaded Persia. After Alexander's first victory, the kings of Persia, Darius III, raised a huge army to face him. Alexander then used a surprise attack. Darius III had to retreat.
Right, next person. Alexander then moved. Yes.
Alexander had moved south to enter Egypt. He was crowned Pharaoh
Pharaoh.
and founded founded a city that he named for himself, Alexandria. He then turned back to Persia and won another great battle. It ended all Persian resistance. The empire was his.
Good. Alright, Jose, what two kingdoms did Alexander defeat?
Defeated Persia.
Persia? And?
Smush.
Go back to your ring so you can see.
I'm not sure about this.
Egypt. Persia and Egypt.
Alexander pushed east, taking his army as far as India. He moved deep into that country. After many years of marching and fighting, however, his soldiers wanted to return home. Alexander agreed and turned back.
On the way.
On the way, he began to make plans for how to govern his new empire. Then he suddenly fell ill and died. He was not yet 33 years old.
Next. Alright, question number 3. How did Alexander's power come to an end?
He fell ill and died.
He fell ill and died? Alright, so Alexander died. And what happened after he died?
Alexander's generals divided the empire.
Alright? Okay. So Alexander died, and 3 of the kingdoms divided the empire. That's how his power came to an end. Alright, let's go. To the graphic organizer. And since we have already won here, in 334 BC, soldiers invaded Anatolia. What happened? What happened in Egypt? Okay, can you please say that again?
He was crowned pharaoh, and he owned a city that named for himself for his injuries.
Good. Alright, so he was crowned pharaoh. And created Alexander. Alright, so what happened in India? Or near India?
That's where he turned around to go back home.
Alright, he turned around, go back home. And what happened when he was turning back and going home?
He got sick.
Yes, he got sick and died. Alright, go ahead and write it down. At what age did he die?
32.
Yes, 32. Alright, so just to finish today's lecture, just wanted to go back and to the objectives, which is locating where North Macedonia is, and very important facts about Alexander. So when was he crowned king? At what age?
20.
Excellent, 20. Alright. What was the most popular name of the cities he named? Yeah,
Alexander.
Alexander. Good. And when did he die? Thank you. And how will you use this knowledge that you already know? How can you use it in the near future? Yep. How will you use this knowledge? How will you use this new knowledge that you have from Alexander?
To have a better understanding of how Greece developed.
Yeah, so now you know more about Greece. To be honest, you can use it also as to like if you were with friends for them to see that you're smart, telling them about a fact about Alexander the Great in your family reunion, you can say something like that. I mean, this knowledge is important for you in your future exams that you're gonna have, alright? Alright, so for the exit tickets, you have the paper here. It's the same, it's the post-assessment. Please answer. And in the last part, why do you think Alexander the Great was great? Please write 3 to 4 sentences about him, with your new knowledge, okay? Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much, guys. You did a great job today.